Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to our writing this morning. We're looking at grammar and modality devices today. If you can keep yourself on mute unless you want to ask or answer a question, and that just keeps the background noise to a minimum. So if you could all just mute yourselves for now, please. But obviously at any point, if you want to ask a question, you can unmute. So our aims and outcomes. By the end of this session, you must ensure you have subject-verb agreement in your writing, use tenses correctly, know how to position articles correctly and know the basics of their use pronouns correctly as subjects and in the possessive form. You should understand how articles are used with uncountable nouns, use pronouns correctly as objects, understand how to make collective nouns agree with the verb, understand how an indefinite article can change to a definite article, and use a limited range of modality devices. You could use a wide range of modality devices. So at level 2, you're expected to use grammar skills to add to the effectiveness of your writing, and all of your tenses should be 100% correct. And for the highest marks, the subject-verb agreement should include use of agreements for pronouns and collective nouns. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So we're going to start with a video about the subject-verb agreement. Sorry.
Subject-verb agreement. The subject and verb must agree in person and number.
Number refers to whether a subject and verb are singular or plural.
A singular subject needs a singular verb, and a plural subject needs a plural verb.
Whereas most plural nouns end in S, most plural verbs don't.
And the opposite is true. Most singular nouns don't end in S, whereas most singular present tense verbs do. Example:
The elephants drink from the watering hole.
plural subject and plural verb.
The elephant drinks from the watering hole.
Singular subject and singular verb.
This is fine if the subject of your sentence is a noun, but if it's a pronoun, I, she, it, you must consider person. Third-person pronouns behave like nouns.
Singular pronouns, he, she and it, takes singular verbs, and the plural pronoun, they, takes a plural verb. However, all first and second person pronouns, I, you and we, take plural verbs. Examples:
I walk to Lisa's house.
we walk back together.
You walk with us.
Two singular nouns or pronouns joined by and create a plural subject and need a plural verb. Example:
Mark and Diana visit the house every Sunday.
Be careful. The S rule does not apply to all present tense verbs. The verb be has 3 present tense forms. Examples:
Elephants are the largest land-based mammal.
a mouse is one of the smallest.
I am somewhere in between.
To recap, a singular subject needs a singular verb, and a plural subject needs a plural verb.
Third-person pronouns, he, she, it and they, behave in the same way.
First person I and we, and second person you pronouns always take plural verbs.
Okay, so subject-verb agreement. So to work out the agreement, you need to know the difference between singular and plural verbs. So if we have a look at these examples, what should the verbs be? So number 1, the office shuts at 6 today, or the office shut at 6 today. And we're talking about the present tense at the moment. So should it be shuts or shut?
You should be short.
Good. So it should be shuts at 6 today. The office shuts at 6 today. So number 2, parking bay 3 is reserved for the director, or parking bay 3 are reserved for the director. Is, well done. She need to bring some ID, or she needs to bring some ID.
She need.
Good. Well done. They is, are, am taking a holiday. So is it they is taking a holiday, they are taking a holiday, or they am taking a holiday?
They are.
Ah, good. Jenny and Joe work at a supermarket, or Jenny and Joe works at a supermarket?
Work.
Good. Well done. So looking again at that subject-verb agreement, which of these sentences are correct? I am working late tonight. So we're looking at the verb and the subject, which in this sentence is am, the verb's there, the verb to be, I am, and the subject is I. I am working late tonight. Is that correct or incorrect?
Correct.
Correct, good. The spreadsheet is on the desk. So
Correct.
yeah, so what's the subject in that sentence?
Spreadsheet.
Good. And the verb?
Desk.
No, so verb, the verb is in that sentence.
Okay, is.
The verb to be. So the spreadsheet is on the desk. Okay. So desk is a noun.
Okay.
Yep. They were, they was going to send the parcels today.
Is a wrong grammar.
It is wrong. So what's wrong?
Was.
What should it be?
Are.
They were.
They were, good. So if it
were.
was, yeah. So if it is the present tense, it would be are. They are going to send the parcels today. But if it's the past tense, like was, then it would be were. They were going to send the parcels today. Welcome. We are fixing the machine. Is that
It's correct. Yeah.
I were at lunch from 12 until 1.
No.
It's wrong.
So what should it be instead of I were?
I was.
Good. The security guards goes to work at 9.
It's correct.
So we've got plural here for security guards.
Goes.
So it's not goes. What should it be?
Go. No.
Hold on. The security guards goes to work at 9. The security guards.
So because they're
Go to.
plural,
Is it go to? Go to.
it should be
Go
just
to
go.
work.
Yeah. it should be just
Go only.
So that one.
Guards goes. Yeah. Go to work at 9.
Okay. So we've got another video to watch. So just bear with me one moment. So this is looking at the verb tense. Just share it with you.
Texts are written in 3 tenses. Present, showing the action is taking place now.
Past, showing that the action has already taken place.
Future, showing that the action will happen in the future.
We use verbs or action words to show which tense a text is written in. Each tense can be written in a number of ways to show slightly different meanings. Let's look at the present tense first. Examples.
Jack walks to college.
Using an S ending. Jack and Fiona are walking to college.
Using is or are and the ing verb ending.
Jack and Fiona have walked to college.
Using has or have and the ed verb ending usually.
Now let's look at the past tense. Examples.
Jack walked home again.
Using the ed verb ending usually.
Jack was walking home again.
Using was or were and the ing verb ending.
Jack had walked home again.
Using had and the ed verb ending usually.
Finally, let's look at the future tense. Examples:
Jack will walk to college tomorrow.
using will with the main verb,
Jack will be walking to college tomorrow.
using will be with the ing verb ending,
Jack will have walked to college by 9 o'clock.
using will have with the ed verb ending usually.
Be careful with the ed ending. Most regular verbs take the ed ending, but watch out for the verbs that don't. Examples:
Marcia drove,
Marcia drived.
the bricks had fallen over,
The bricks had fallen over.
To recap, texts are written in 3 tenses: past, present and future. Each of the tenses can be written in a variety of ways to show slightly different meanings.
Okay, so looking at verb tense, there are 3 main tenses. Verbs show the tense the text is written in. So past, showing the action has already taken place. Joe caught the bus to work. Joe was catching the bus to work. Joe had caught the bus to work. And the present, showing the action is taking place now. So Joe catches the bus to work. Joe is catching the bus to work. And future, showing that the action will happen in the future. Joe will catch the bus to work tomorrow. Joe will be catching the bus to work tomorrow. Any questions so far? Okay, so we've got an example paragraph here, it's a letter. The use of tense isn't consistent. Which verbs need to be changed? So I'll read it out loud and see if you can spot any verbs that are not consistent and need to be changed. Dear Mrs. Singh, further to our telephone conversation a moment ago, I was pleased to attach my CV. You will see that I have completing a range of business administration qualifications and am well qualified to work at Smith & Company. I was in charge of a team of admin staff in my current job. I have been working for Browns for 5 years. They have been a great company to work for, but I am now interested in gaining promotion and skills with another company. So, first of all, what tense is this mainly written in? Most of this is in one particular tense. So, past, present, or future?
Past.
So, which part is in the past? So, has. So the last sentence, they have been a great company to work for. So they have been, part of that uses the past tense, but most of it is written in the present tense. Okay, so it should be. So we're thinking about what's wrong. So
You're completing.
So some of those verbs are in the past tense, but they should be in the present. So he is attaching his CV now, so it shouldn't be I was. He didn't attach his CV to a letter or email yesterday. He's doing it now. So that was should be am. So just underline it. So this should be am. So I am. Pleased to attach my CV. You will see that I have
completed.
So It's the that I have.
Completed.
So I have completed. No, sorry, it's the have. So I am completing. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, sorry. The verb, it's a bit confusing, this one. Because we could change either of those to change the meaning. So it could be that I am completing a range of business administration qualifications. So that would mean he was doing it now. But
Okay.
yes, he's applying for this job and he's already working in another job, then you're right, it should be completed because he would have already done the qualifications to do this job. So let's just underline it so everybody can see. So this one, it should be completed. Oh. So I'm not going to write the whole word because it won't fit. So it should be completed, not completing.
Okay.
And I'm well qualified to work at Smith & Company. So he's now going to talk about his current job. So what he is doing now in the present. I was in charge of a team of admin staff in my current job. Yeah, so that should be I am.
In charge of a team of admin staff.
So this should be I have been working for Browns for 5 years. They have been a great company to work for, but I am now interested in gaining promotion and skills with another company. Okay, so the rest of that is correct. So well done for spotting those. We've got the third video to watch today about pronouns. So any questions about the tenses? So think about is, I mean, that task there is just so that you can practice, you can identify tenses so that when you're doing your own writing, you're aware of it. You're never going to be given that task to do in an assessment to work out where the errors are. So it's just to make you aware of why it's important. Okay, so when you're doing your own writing in your writing assessment, making sure that the tenses are correct. Sorry.
Pronouns are used in place of a noun that has already been mentioned. If we didn't use them, a text would soon get boring. Example. Lara was 26 years old. Lara worked as a chef, although Lara had trained to be a hairdresser. If we substitute the proper noun Lara for she, the text becomes much easier to read. Lara was 26 years old. She worked as a chef, although she had trained to be a hairdresser. Personal pronouns can be singular or plural. I and me, or we and us. He, she, him, her, it, or they and them. The second person you is the same whether it's referring to one person or a whole group of people. Personal pronouns you and we are used extensively in persuasive texts to make the reader feel they're being spoken to personally. Example. Our caffeine-based drink will give you wings. There are also possessive pronouns. Mine, yours, hers, his, ours, theirs, its. Unlike nouns, you don't have to use an apostrophe with a pronoun to indicate possession. Example. The lion licked its paws. There are also reflexive pronouns. Myself, himself, herself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, themselves. They are used to refer back to the subject of the sentence, often a pronoun that has already been used. Example: I can fix the washing machine myself. We can look after ourselves. Answer the following. Which of these sentences uses pronouns correctly? Make your selection now before I reveal the answer. 3, 2, 1. The answer is B. You don't use an apostrophe with a pronoun to indicate possession. 4 skills for lifelong achievement.
Okay. Right, and just during that video, there was a message in the chat about someone not getting in on WhatsApp, and I've just been reading the messages, which I'm not able to do that while I'm teaching you, so I can only really do that if there's a video or something. So has everybody got sound? Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If you can't, okay. So it was Lisa that I was concerned about. You put that you didn't have sound. Okay, but you can hear me now. That's great. Okay. The best thing to do if there is an issue, rather than put in the chat, is just to let me know. Just unmute yourself quickly, because, well, I can see the chat, but I can't see the WhatsApp while I'm teaching you, because I don't want to look at that while I'm teaching you because it's distracting. So, okay, great. Right, let's carry on. So pronouns. Pronouns are used in place of a noun to avoid repetition, because as we saw in the video, if we just repeat the person's name when we're writing about them, it doesn't sound right. It becomes boring. It just isn't a good way to write or to speak. So we use pronouns to replace those nouns. And the first person, I, me, they are the singular pronouns, and the plural are we and us. For the second person, you, the singular is you, the plural is also you. And for the third person, the singular is he, she, him, her, or it, and the plural is they or them. And possessive pronouns are mine, yours, hers, his, ours, theirs, and its. And just know, you can see those written down there, that when we're using possessive pronouns, we do not use an apostrophe before the S. So they never use one. Okay, reflexive pronouns are when we refer back to the subjects of the sentence. So myself, so I went to the shop myself. So I'm referring back to I, to myself. Himself, herself, yourself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, themselves. So as it says there, you can go to the shop yourself. So you're referring back to the subject or the you. Any questions there?
Yeah, you can go to the shop yourself. Is it a good grammar?
Yep, that's fine. So it depends what it would depend on the context, really. But if someone said to you, I don't know, someone asked, "Can you come to the shop with me?" You say, "No, you can go to the shop yourself."
Not by yourself.
Pardon?
Not you can go to the shop by yourself.
No, that would be slightly different meaning. So if someone asks, so for example, a child asks, "Can I go to the shop? am I allowed to go to the shop? Yes, you can go to the shop by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas the meaning of this one would be something like, I'm not going to come with you, you can go yourself.
Okay. It's
It's just slightly different.
English is difficult.
It is difficult, yes.
Very difficult.
English
I'm
difficult.
telling you.
Too many different rules really, and exceptions to the rule as well, which doesn't help.
Because even coming from Africa, you find out that so many teachers there, we the way we use English from home is like, what matters to us is, do you understand what I said? That's what matters. If once you understand what I said, we don't have to use all these tenses, singular, plural, this, that, this. No, what now? We just use it, break it down to our own. Just once you can understand me, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's because if we should go all this way, the way you are, PCing it.
But that's yeah. So when you're speaking and you're speaking in another language, then it's the aim is that initially your aim is that you can be understood, and your English. So I am trying to learn Spanish. I'm not very good at it, and my aim would be that I could get understood rather than wondering, am I getting all the tenses and pronouns correct? I would just want people to understand me. And initially, when you're learning another language, that would be the aim. And that is fine. And ultimately, if people can understand you, then that's great. But what we're doing here, we're moving on from that, and we're showing that you not only can be understood, but that you can read and you can write English to a particular level.
Yeah, so stepping it up.
Why we're getting into the detail here. Okay.
Yeah, right.
So yeah. Okay, so that's why. So if maybe that one about the shop is not a great example, but if you think about a young child, you might say, he could dress himself. Yeah, so he could do that to himself. It's not about him doing it alone rather than with someone else. So if you said he could dress by himself, it's just very slightly different. Okay, but the main thing here is that that they would match. So if you're using you would be using yourself. If you're using me, you'd use myself, and so on.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, that's okay. So the use of pronouns here in this text isn't consistent, which need to be changed. Ian Applin has been the manager of the Castle Hotel for 3 years. She oversaw a £10 million refit. Our overall aim was to respect the most iconic areas of the hotel. People visit our hotel from all over the world to experience its old world charm. I want a blend of the old and the new. Ian and his team have worked tirelessly to create a new look. With rave reviews, we agreed that the refit is a total success. So where are the errors here? So Ian Applin is a man, that's a male name. So Ian has been the manager of the Castle Hotel for 3 years. She oversaw, so there's our first pronoun, is that correct? We're talking about Ian, a man. Is this pronoun correct?
No. He.
No, should be he. Yeah.
No.
I'll write it with that. So he oversaw a £10 million refit. Our overall aim, so we've got R there, so it's talking about the hotel staff, management, and so on. So that's correct. Our overall aim was to respect the most iconic areas of the hotel. People visit our hotel. So is that correct? That's the next pronoun?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not, he's the manager, so it's not his hotel. It doesn't just belong to him.
It's our hotel.
Yeah. And it matches here with our. So he's talking about our aims for the hotel, our hotel. So that's correct.
Mm. Okay,
people visit our hotel from all over the world to experience its old world charm. So we've got another pronoun here, my. My wants a blend of the old and the new. And he's talking about the people.
We.
So he's talking not about himself. He's talking about hotel visitors.
Okay.
So if we look back, for the they, good.
Yeah.
Oops.
They want a blend of the old and new.
So this should be
there.
Okay. They want to blend the old and the new. Ian and his team, is his correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are all the pronouns.
Yeah.
To create a new look. With rave reviews, we agree. So this is the writer now.
Yeah.
That refit is a total success.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So it could be correct. If
it's all of them that agreed.
Exactly. So this could be phrased either way. If someone is writing in a magazine, they might be talking about we as the staff or as the magazine as a whole, and they might say we, but they could also write I because they're just one person writing the review. But we will take that as correct on this occasion. Okay, any questions there about those pronouns? Okay.
Excuse me, can you go back?
Yep.
This way is I agree that the refit is a total success. If it's we, is it we agree or we agreed?
No, we agree because he's talking
Presently.
Yeah. So he agrees, yeah.
Okay.
Or she, whoever the writer is.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we need to replace the nouns with appropriate pronouns. So we've got some proper nouns, which are names, such as a name of a person, a company, or a country. And we've got just some general nouns. Okay. So Ian and Tamika were working late with Tom and I. So first of all, which are the nouns?
Ian and Tamika. Tom and I.
Yep. So what should Ian and Tamika be changed to?
They were working.
They. Good. Thank you. So they. And what about, where's the next nouns in that sentence?
They were working late with them.
They were working there with us.
With Tom and I. Good. Yes.
With Tom
and I. Okay, so us. Well done. Okay, so number 2, the floors needed cleaning, but Tom and I were too busy to sweep the floors. So we can see in this sentence why we need the pronouns, because that noun, the floors, has been repeated and it doesn't sound natural. The floors needed cleaning, but Tom and I were too busy to sweep the floors.
We're too busy to sweep. To sweep it. Eat.
Let's have a look. Can anyone else suggest for floors what the pronoun should be? So floors is floors is plural. So there's more than one floor.
Okay. Them.
Them. Good. And Tom and I as well.
We.
We, good. Okay, let's look at the next one. Why was Raj late for the meeting with Becca yesterday?
Why was he late for the meeting?
Yeah, so he.
Why was he late with the meeting with Becca yesterday?
So what should we change Becca to?
He.
Her, good.
Her. Yeah.
With her yesterday. Good. Okay, let's look at number 4. So Kate said the breakage was her fault. Ignore that R there. I don't know why that's there. So Kate.
She said.
She, good.
She said the breakage. She said
So
she was.
Sorry, Stan. If you just let whoever's talking just finish.
Okay.
So, okay, thank you. So she said. So somebody just gave me she. Do you want to carry on?
Yeah, she said.
Yeah.
The breakage was.
So we're changing the breakage.
Yeah.
So what could we change the breakage to?
She said it was.
Good. And it's already been changed, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
on there, that's an error there. Apologies for that. Okay, well done. Thank you everybody who's contributing. It really helps us to learn better if people are contributing. So thank you everybody. Okay, any questions about those pronouns there? Okay. So collective nouns. So these are the nouns, the name given to a group of things. So such as a family, an organisation, a team. So we've got some examples there. A pack of dogs, a bunch of flowers, a class of students as well. Okay, so a pack, a bunch, a class, they are collective nouns. You don't need to learn lists of them, but if you use them, your grammar needs to be correct. If the collective noun refers to the group as a unit, it takes a singular verb. So if we're talking about the class as a whole, then the verb needs to be singular. So today, the class takes its exam. Okay, because they're all taking the exam together at the same time. So they are one unit. Class and takes are singular. All members of the class are taking the exam at the same time. But if the noun refers to the individuals in the group or the parts that make up the group, the verb should be plural. So after the exam, the class start their speaking and listening presentations. So this time, class start their are plural, okay? Because this is referring to the members of the class doing individual speaking and listening presentations. Okay, so it becomes plural. Okay, so it's quite tricky, but let's stick with it and look at some more. So which sentences have correct subject-verb agreement? So the committee is undecided. So committee is our verb, our subject, and is verb. Is that correct? The committee.
Undecided.
Pardon?
The committee is undecided. Yeah.
Yeah. So committee here.
Hmm.
The committee is undecided. We're talking about the committee as one whole, one body. So is correct. Okay. the stack of papers is on the table.
On the table.
So what's our subject in that sentence? The stack of papers
On the table.
is on the table. What's the subject?
The paper.
Yeah, good. So the stack of papers, it's the stack.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the papers, but it's one whole. It's no longer individual papers. It's a stack. Okay, so it's one stack. So our verb is that correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, it is, because we're talking about the stack, not the individual papers. Well done. And let's look at the next one. Everyone wants to work here. So everyone is our subject. Want is our verb. Is that correct? Everyone wants to work here. Oh, got rid of that, showing you the answer there. So what it should be.
Once.
Sorry, the mouse is going a bit crazy here. It should be once. Well done. Everyone wants to work here. So it's talking about the individual people in that group. Everyone. A majority of the shareholders wants the merger.
Does it need A?
Pardon?
The A, does it sound good, a majority?
Yes. Yeah, it could be a majority or it could be the majority.
Okay.
A majority of the shareholders want the merger.
Majority of the shareholders.
So the subject was, sorry, just let me get rid of that. So the subject is a majority and the verb is wants. Is that correct?
I'm having problem with verbs, these verbs.
Pardon?
I'm having problems with verbs. What is verb, plural, pronoun, this, that?
So,
yes,
yeah, oh, turn this up, just hold on. Go back on there. So in this sentence, the subject is the majority of the shareholders, but it's the majority that needs to agree with the verb. Okay, so that, because if you think we're talking about our collective nouns, so we're talking about the majority of the shareholders. Okay, let's look at number 5. The team are in London this week, so you can see that's it. That should be is. So the team is in London. The team is being spoken about as one group.
Yeah.
Okay. And the gang of workmen are late. So why is that incorrect?
The gang of workmen.
Because they are talking about one gang.
Good. So it's talking about the gang. So it should be is late. The gang of workmen is late. So the workmen is just describing what they're a gang of. Okay. But the subject is the gang.
Okay, the gang is like one.
Yes. So it's like one group.
Okay.
So gang is a collective noun, talking about a group of people.
All right.
So it is tricky. You do need to practice with these. You can log on to Moodle and look at what other resources are there for this session and use those. And you can also, BBC Bite Size has functional skills sessions that you can look at and resources you can use. So use both of those. You can also check the NCFE website, and they have past papers and things that you can look at too, but you just need to practice really, okay, with these. It is tricky. So any more questions before we move on to articles? Okay, so what are articles? So the articles in these sentences or jokes are underlined, okay? A horse walks into a bar. The barman says, "Why the long face?" So we've got a and the. What's the best thing about Switzerland? I don't know, but the flag is a big plus. So the and a. So the final one, what sits at the bottom of the sea and twitches? A nervous wreck. Okay, so articles. Articles introduce the noun. Okay, so we can use a or the, and we're going to look at when we would use each of those. So we've got general rules that apply. So if the specific identity is unknown, so we're not talking about, for example, here, initially, we're just introducing a horse, and we just need people to imagine a horse. So we would use a or an. And initially, I'm talking about countable nouns. So that means something that you could count if you wanted to. Okay. Uncountable nouns are things like rice or sand, where you're not going to say the amount. But let's focus on the countable nouns. So if we don't know the identity, we're talking about that thing in general, we would use a or an. If we're talking about something specific, we use the. So if we were pointing to a horse in a field, we might say the horse over there, because it's a specific horse that we know about because we can see it, or the other person is aware of it. If we're talking about all things in general, we don't use an article at all. So for example, we're talking about horses, horses like running, then we're not using an article at all, because we're just talking about horses in general. Okay, so uncountable nouns, we're going to look at those a little bit more, because it's quite tricky just looking at this on a table to understand the different use, and it's better for us to just look at some examples of their use and the purpose in more detail. So let's have a look. So the sentence, a horse walks into an animal-friendly bar. The barman says, "Why the long face?" So the indefinite article a, so it's indefinite because it's not a definite horse. It's just talking about any horses. A horse. So that's the indefinite article before the noun. The indefinite article an goes before vowel sounds. So it's the same as using a, but if the noun following it or the adjective following it starts with a vowel, then we use an. So any word starting with A, E, I, O, or U, rather than a, we use an. But it's the same function, it's just before those letters. We would use an instead of a. Okay. And remember the adjectives. So here the adjective is animal friendly. They can go between articles and nouns. So we've got the article an, we've got the noun bar, but we've got some added description. It's animal friendly. The barman says, why the long face? So the definite article, the, goes before the nouns. So he's talking about the horse's face. So he's using the, because it's a definite object or thing that he's talking about. He uses the instead of a. So any questions so far? We'll look at some more. So the same sentence, the a is introducing a new noun. So it could be any horse. It's not specific. So this sentence is a joke, and it doesn't matter. It's non-specific. The writer of this joke just wants people to imagine a horse. It doesn't really matter what horse it is. So it's general. It's non-specific. A horse walks into an animal-friendly bar. So as I said, it's the same purpose as a, but because animal, the next word, starts with a vowel, we use an, because saying animal is quite tricky. So we use an instead. The barman says, why the long face? The horse only has one face. We know which face the barman is talking about. In the same way, we might say the bathroom, it's specific. Okay? Any questions? Let's look at this. This is one of the other sentences, the other jokes. What is the best thing about Switzerland? I don't know, but the flag is a big plus. So the best thing we use in the definite article because there can only be one best thing. So the superlative, so if it the best, the fastest, the strongest, can only, so that's the superlative, there can only be one of them. The best, you know, in terms of language, if you talk using the superlative, the best, the worst, the most, then there can only be one of them. So we use the, because it's definite, it's the best thing. I don't know, but the flag. So again, there's only one Swiss flag. So we can only be talking about that particular flag. So we use the. And it's a big plus. So a bonus. Okay. So that could be more, there could be more than one. So when it talks about a big plus, it means an advantage. There could be many of those. So it uses a, it's non-specific. Note that countries such as, so names like a country name don't take an article in general. So we wouldn't talk about the Switzerland, the Australia, the Mexico and so on. The only exception is this to this are things where are situations where the country is a number of states or areas. So for example, the Philippines, the USA. Okay, but generally the majority of countries would not have an article at all. So no a, no the. So another example, what sits at the bottom of the sea and twitches? A nervous wreck. So again, there's only one bottom of the sea, and the sea. So establish things like the sea, the sky, the sun, the moon. We use the. Okay, there's just one thing we're referring to. And a nervous wreck, it's non-specific. Okay, it's just talking about that in general. Okay, any questions so far about using a and the? Okay, so when an indefinite article becomes a definite article, so when a or an becomes the. So you use an indefinite article to introduce something. So if you're writing about a tree, so there is a tree in my back garden, you're starting off talking about it and you've introduced the tree. So, you've introduced a tree. So because it's the first time you've mentioned it, a tree, just so people can imagine a tree. You've not given any details yet. You're just talking about a tree in your back garden. The tree, so now we're getting down to specifics and we're talking about that particular tree. The tree was planted by my father over 30 years ago. We introduced the tree with a or an because it's new to us. We then know which tree we're talking about, so it takes the definite article. So we introduce it with the indefinite article a, but at our subsequent mentions of this tree, we use the definite article the, because we're talking about this specific tree. So as I mentioned before, uncountable nouns, which don't take an article when they are introduced. So if you think about rice, we don't, it's uncountable because like sand, it's not a specific thing, it's lots of grains. So we just talk about it because it's uncountable. We don't use an article when we introduce it. So like with a tree, we're introducing it. So I heard a tall tale about rice last night. I don't think there was a grain of truth in it. So rice has no article. But when we talk about the grain, that's one thing. So it uses a, the indefinite article. Once the rice is introduced, we may use the to be specific. So we had curry and rice last night. So we're not using an article there for rice. The rice was delicious. We're talking about that specific rice on the plate that we ate last night. So we are going to use an article because we've already introduced it. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
There's a question that there's a sentence that I'm a bit confused. If I want to say, I want to give you a wash. Is it a wash or the wash?
A wash.
Yeah. So if you're introducing that, I want to give you a wash. So you're talking to
someone.
I want
Yeah.
to give you a wash. But then if later, then if you were talking about it later when I gave you the wash, because then it's about that specific time.
Yeah.
Yeah, our wash would be correct.
A wash, okay.
Yeah.
What of you? What? Give me this.
So,
keep it. Go. Both of you.
So the definition, and are we using a or an? So remember, an is the same as a, but just if the next word begins with a vowel. So we're using at or an, the, or there isn't an article. So to introduce a new countable noun, so a chair, a tree, we use a or an. To talk about a noun that we've previously introduced, we would use the. So I'm going to bring a chair into the room. The chair will go next to the sofa. So we introduced it with a, but then we used the chair because we're talking now about the specific. So if we're talking about a superlative, the best, the tallest, the worst, okay, the happiest, whatever it is, then we use the. So the best chair in the room. Countries made up of parts or states, so Philippines, United States, we use the Philippines, the United States. Most countries, though, will not have an article. So we don't say the England, the Russia, and so on. Non-specific, uncountable nouns, so like rice, sand, water. We don't use an article at all. A unique thing such as the sun, earth, the moon, we use the. Okay. So any questions about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The area you mentioned, countries made up of parts of states. Did you say you can use the Philippines, the American?
So you wouldn't say the American, you would say the United States. If you were talking about America, then you wouldn't use an article.
All right.
But if you're talking about a collection of, so the Philippines is known as the Philippines, it's a collection of states, the United States, that name describes all of those states together. But we can also call the United States, it's often referred to as America, and that name does not use an article.
So if I want to say, for example, can I have some rice? There's some that is there is not meant like article.
You could say some rice.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine to say some rice, because then you're talking about you're referring to an amount. I know it's not specific, but some you're referring to an amount, but you're still not using at or the for the rice.
Okay.
It's confusing.
Oh, okay. So modality devices. These are tools to change the degree to which we do something. So it's better explained by the example. Tommy will walk his dog when he gets home. So will, that tells us he's definitely going to do it. Okay. Tommy will probably walk his dog. So the probably is a modality device. It changes the degree. So it's not definite anymore. There's a good chance he will probably walk his dog when he gets home. Okay. So it's changed from definite to probable. So modality allows the writer to tell us about possibility. So what's the possibility of Tommy walking his dog? Or desirability, how much he might want. It could be Tommy wants to walk his dog when he gets home, so he definitely wants to do it. Or Tommy might want to walk his dog, so that would be desirable. Desirability. But they're both modality devices to change the degree. So we've got a mix of adverbs here. How strongly do they express the possibility that climate change will get worse? So if we look at that sentence with a gap in, climate change, blank, get worse. And we can use one of these adverbs to put in that space. And the one we choose will determine how likely it is to get worse. That makes sense. So if we put in there, in that space there, if we put, make it a bit bigger so you can see. Can you put yourself on mute unless you're asking or answering? So if I choose probably won't, then that is very different than if I chose will definitely, isn't it? I'm just going to mute everyone because I've got quite a lot of background noise. But obviously you can unmute if you need to ask a question or answer a question. So can you see the difference there? Or if we wrote climate change. Oh. So how could I change the likeliness of climate change getting worse? So here, I've put climate change probably won't. So I have used this one, probably won't get worse. Which one could I choose to change the likeliness or the likelihood of climate change getting worse? What could I put here? So can anyone choose a different one that will change the meaning?
Yeah, we may be, possibly, maybe.
Yeah. So probably won't, will possibly tell us different predictions or different likeliness of climate change getting worse.
I have a question.
Yep.
What's the difference between possibly and maybe?
Oh, well, that's a good question, really. They're very similar, aren't they? So there wouldn't be much difference between the meaning there.
Okay.
Okay, so if we look at them put in order, so perhaps, maybe, possibly, they're all very similar meanings, aren't they?
That's where the confusion comes.
Yeah. So I mean, they are used interchangeably, really. So they can be used in place of each other, really. Okay.
Or
so
possibly is more.
Maybe a bad choice of the person who has written these slides. Okay. So maybe it's a bit confusing because those words are similes. They have a very similar meaning. So it would, don't worry about that because we could get rid of those two. So let's see. If I just got rid of those two, then we'd still be able to understand, wouldn't we, the difference? So definitely not, maybe, conceivably, definitely. So we can still see the difference by the choice of words. Okay.
Or could you say that possibly is more academic than maybe?
Yeah, I guess it would be, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I would yeah. Any other questions about that? Okay, we're going to look at another example. So if you do have a question. So these verbs are called modal verbs, as they change the intensity of the verb next to them. So how strongly do they express the desirability that Pete should go vegan? So we're going to imagine again that they are in this gap. So we've got must, will, could, should, mustn't, might. So what could we could put any of those words in this sentence.
What is it?
The one we chooses, the one we choose will change the intensity of this verb here. Sorry if I just put the line on. Become. Okay. So how important is it for Pete to become a vegan? So we could have
will.
So it's definitely going to happen. We could have he mustn't, so he definitely is not going to do it. Okay. So if we have a look in order here, so could and might, like I mentioned before about possible, maybe, they are similar in meaning. Again, I'm just going to mute because it's quite noisy. So, any questions about that, about how the verb choice, the modal verbs, can change the likelihood of the verb or the intensity of the verb? Okay, so we've got phrases here. So to help you with your writing, to show possibility and desirability. So it is possible that, it seems unlikely or likely that. So if we're thinking about Pete becoming a vegan, it is possible that Pete will become a vegan. It seems likely that Pete will become a vegan. It is more than likely that Pete will become a vegan. It is out of the question that, without a shadow of a doubt, it is doubtful that it is capable. Not sure about that last one. But the others, definitely, they will, using those modality devices, those tools, can help you to express that possibility in your writing. So rather than just always choosing the word might or maybe, you can give more detail about how likely that is. And desirability, it is suggested that, it is advisable to. The best, worst way is, it seems sensible to. That was hoped for. All our worst fears was an acceptable outcome. Okay. So it may be that you can think of others that you could use as well. So, any questions before we start our quiz to finish? Okay, so what do pronouns do? So show direct speech, take the place of verbs, make verbs agree, or take the place of nouns. So what do pronouns do? So put everyone on mute, because it's getting a bit noisy, but feel free to unmute yourself. What's a pronoun? The clue is in the name pronoun. What does it do?
Takes the place of noun.
Good. So D, it takes the place of the noun. Well done. Which shows correct subject-verb agreement? The crowd of people is leaving the building. The crowds of people is leaving the building. The crowd of people are leaving the building, or the crowd of peoples is leaving the building.
He's leaving the building.
Yes, so A, the crowd, so that's our subject, is leaving the building. It's a collective noun. What is the future tense? A verb, an action that has happened, action that is happening, or action that is going to happen?
It's going to happen.
Good, well done. Which shows the correct of tense? Yesterday, the printer run out of toner. Yesterday, the printer running out of toner. Yesterday, the printer ran out of toner. Or yesterday, the printer runs out of toner. Which one is correct?
A.
So the printer run out of toner. So that one's not correct.
No.
Run out. C.
Yeah, well done. Ran. So that's the past tense. That shows the correct use of the past tense. Which uses the correct pronouns? The shift was long, so they were glad when day was over. The shift was long, so it were glad when they were over. The shift was long, so they were glad when she was over. The shift was long, so they were glad when it was over.
D.
Good. D.
One. Yeah, one.
So, they describing the people, so they, not it. They, and the shift, so it. Okay, well done. Okay, so we've finished for today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sorry we've overrun a bit, and hopefully I'll see you on Saturday for our reading.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Have a good day.